Okay, now we are officially good to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in for this amazing session. We are looking forward to closing this up with the Side Hustle webinar series. As always, we are Mwalimu Biashara, and I will be the one who will be modulating for us today. We have two, or rather one amazing guest who has been here all through and now they're going to be taking us through the sales process. I'm going to be introducing Ruth in a few. But then, as always, we normally have our financial coach with us, Kennon Mbae, who is also part and parcel of this amazing team. And today we want to make sure that we close it on a positive note. Why? This is because we have been having this webinar series for quite some time now. We can remember that we started this journey around a month ago, 4 weeks ago. And we've been having very positive engagements between us and also you guys because we are looking into multiple streams of income. And ideally, in order for you us to understand what is the essence of multiple streams of income, we normally have the most basic saying that people normally go to, and that is the side hustle business. So regardless of whether you are juggling your 9 to 5 or whether you have one business and you want to venture into another, how can you, or rather, how can you have the necessary skills? How can you be able to have the necessary knowledge to take you to that next level? And that is why we're here. And this is why we're having this amazing conversation. So, in the first session, we had very positive remarks when we talked about several things, and the first one being the mistakes that we make with side hustles. And allow me to just quickly just go through what we were able to discuss, because that is part and parcel of what we are here to discuss. So we want to trace back our steps and see, ideally, we started with this thing called the side hustle. What were we able to start with, and what was the goal for us to be able to proceed on? So the very first one that we looked at was in regards to what we discussed is the common mistakes that we make with side hustles. And ladies and gentlemen, remember that time when we made even the poll inside the group, and we talked about the several things that people normally hesitate when it comes to side hustles. And some of the things that we were able to highlight, among others, was people have a fear to be able to know, to venture into the unknown. And that is common, not just in side hustles, but in the aspect called life. So someone wants to venture into a business, but they have the fear of, I don't know what's going to happen. Will the business be able to kickstart when I put all my efforts within? Will I be able to get everything right? Will I be able to, those so many questions that people normally have. And that is quite true to the fact that you can be able to start something and you won't have everything figured out at the very first time. But the more you continue to engage within the business, the more you can be able to learn the risks of the business. You can be able to understand what to be able to identify as the key selling points for your business. But as always, even when you have the fear, the first thing that we normally encourage you to have is a plan. And that is one thing that we discovered, that most of the Kenyans, or rather most of us, have a habit of, you just see something working for your neighbor and you're like, if this thing worked for example, if this thing worked for Solomon, or if this thing worked for Ruth, or it worked for Kennon, I think it can actually work for me. And then lo and behold, you are going there to the business, and then 1 month, 2 months down the road, you've ventured in, you took all your savings, or you took part of your investments to venture into this business, and then the business does not work. And then you're left there, egg on your face, wondering, society, what is this I've brought myself into? And it's normally such an amazing conversation to have as we proceed on with that. So people normally venture into the side hustle business without a plan. The other one that we have talked about is the fear of the unknown. So people don't know, if I can venture into this, whether it will work or not. Ideally, nobody has the blueprint of everything. We normally start into it, and then through various processes, you are able to learn into the business. The other thing that we realize that people are the common mistakes that people venture into the side hustle business is, they normally do not have a differentiation between the company business, or rather the finances of the business and the personal finances of the person. So they're normally intertwined. So if I want, for example, to pay for an emergency, I will say I will take 10,000 for my business and then nitajua tu venye itarudisha. See, after all, si pesa ni yangu. And Kennon has been very instrumental into teaching us that the core fundamental principle of why most of the businesses are not able to survive within their first 1 to 2 years is because people have that challenge of mixing their business money and their personal money. And so some of the challenges that we were able to address is, are you able to make that distinction in terms of setting that clear boundary? Give yourself a salary when it comes to your business. Set aside a money and say, I'm going to be paying myself X amount of money for this particular month so that I can be able to cater for my needs, and also so that you can be able to meet the needs of your business. So that was phase number one. And the key points for phase number one we asked ourselves is, are you able to now identify the side hustle business that you want to run? And I think that has been quite instrumental. And I believe for some of us, if you have not yet picked a side hustle business, then I encourage you to get those answers and know ideally what is it that you want to do as you look forward towards the side hustle event, which is going to be happening on the 8th of November. So that was part number one. And then it came to part number two, where we had one expert who's going to be part and parcel of the team that is going to be giving you the tips of how you can be able to take your business to the next level in terms of branding and marketing. And that was Michelle Wanja from Answer Africa. And now, what we are able to categorically look into on that particular webinar was, how can you be able to brand your business? How can you be able to market your business? How can you be able to identify and see, yes, I am in this particular space. I have I've targeted my audience. I know exactly my business. So how can I be able to start selling it? We normally do say that there are different types of coffee. You can go to your normal kiosk or your kibandaski, and you can get your tea or your coffee for 50 bob. You can go there to the CBD and maybe pay for the same coffee for 200 Kenya shillings. You can go to Java and maybe pay for the same coffee for 400 Kenya shillings. And maybe you can go to Westlands and pay for the same coffee at 700 Kenya shillings. So it all depends on where the location is and all that. So it's the same type of coffee, but at the end of the day, what is it that you can be able to give that differentiation that your people or your customers can be able to identify and say, I know this business is for Louisa. I know this business is Solomon's. Hii biashara ni ya Kennon. This one, if it's the product and the service from Kennon, it is normally on an excellent value as compared to maybe your competitors or the ones that you are going to be able to be in that same business. And so we were able to answer some few Q&A questions about business. So how am I able to juggle between my 9 to 5 when it comes to my business, and how can I be able to set aside my timing for my business? We were able to look at several things that also Kennon and Michelle from Answer Africa were able to point at in terms of, if you are in this space, for example, the clothing space, and it's very, very much saturated. So how am I able to stand out? And we were able to be given some few bits in terms of how to be able to market your business when it comes to creating a brand and making sure that you have that niche sort of marketing and targeting your audience for that particular vibe. And then how are you able to gear up your finances for all of that? And so that was ideally the second part of that session. And the takeaway points that we were able to come out of is, before we come for the side hustle business, kindly ensure that you've identified what business that you want to venture in, what is your target audience, and what sort of product and service do you want to venture into. So those are some of the things that we are sharing today, so that even as we open the floor to now Ruth, who is going to be giving us one of the key aspects when it comes to biashara, sales. Because, ladies and gentlemen, without sales, your biashara is not biasharaing. The business is not businessing without sales. And maybe Ruth can give us more insights when you're talking about sales and everything to do with that. And so before we hand it over to Ruth, so that she can say something or two, and then we're going to dive into the questions. There was a poll that we were able to run on our Kibeti community. And I urge you, before we just go to the poll, kindly just go and give your feedback, because that poll is going to ideally set us up for today, what you're going to be discussing, because we want to look at several aspects. And the poll questions that we asked in our Kibeti community, it was quite simple. We were asking each other, the sales question, or rather the sales strategy that you want to partake. So which part of sales feels hardest for you? Because you want to identify when it comes to this animal, this king, there's some people who have been able to conquer it when it comes to sales. People are recording profits after profit, year after year, month after month. So what does that mean for their business? What are the secrets that they are using, and what are some of the things that we can be able to learn from them, so that we can be able to take our business to the next level? So we were having the conversation, and the conversation was there on our Kibeti community. So what part of sales felt hardest to you? Was it starting the conversation? Was it pricing your product? Was it handling objections? And was it closing the deal? So I'll leave it there to marinate for around 5 or so minutes, before we get back to it, and then we see how we can be able to generate this conversation and move it to the next level. But before that, kindly I urge you, if you have any questions, then put them in the chat section. We'll be glad, we'll be honored to actually answer your questions. And since now we have the opportunity to have the conversation with our amazing guest, before that, allow me to maybe pass the baton to Kennon, so that he can also say one or two things, before now we can be able to open the floor to Ruth, and have this guided conversation to see how we can be able to take your sales to the next level. As I said, if you have any questions, kindly put them in the chat section. We'll be glad to help, and we will be here to more or less direct you and give you the best possible solution of how you can be able to scale up a business. And even not you haven't started your side hustle business, worry not. That's why we were able to create the event for the 8th of November, the Side Hustle Breakfast, because on that particular day, you will be able to start your business. Have the idea. Let us give you the nice principles. Let us give you the strategy in order for you to take your business to the next level. So if you can be able to hear me, Kennon, kindly, is there something maybe I might have left behind in terms of what we discussed in the previous two sessions, and maybe what to expect in this particular session? Over to you, Kennon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul Edward Mwangi. Asante sana for that. Very good recap. Karibuni sana for those of us who managed to join the webinar today. Edward, you've covered it so well. I think you've recapped it quite well, what we had in the first two sessions. And now, as we listen to Ruth, as we listen to the experts in sales, we are happy and excited to take nuggets. Why are we calling Ruth an expert? Let me explain how it works. Ruth and I, and even Wanja, we work for a company called Sandbox International. Sandbox International is an environment where various experts come together to serve the SME sector. So Ruth is actually the expert in sales. When you say expert, she knows it all. She has the experience, she has the answers. Obviously, we want to give her enough time. I see we have slightly under 40 minutes in this webinar for Ruth to shine. Now, but here Ruth is here to serve us. Ruth is here to give us a foretaste of what 8th of November will be like as we hear matters around sales. So today I will step back and give Ruth the microphone to engage us in what she has around sales. As Edward said, please put your questions in the chat. We'll be looking out for those, because 50% of the learnings comes from asking the questions. So we are happy to take that. So if you have a question, put it on the chat. If it's a really burning question, put your hand up. If you feel it's a point you want to ask, a burning question when Ruth is presenting, we'll be happy to give you the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Ruth. I can see Ruth is ready to roll. Ruth, it's your stage. It's your show. We are here to hear and learn about sales. Over to you, Ruth.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Kennon. What an introduction. Yeah. Yes, as Kennon has mentioned, I have some quite of experience when it comes to sales, as a profession, as a career. And yeah, for today, I only hope that whatever I'm going to share will really add value to you, kind of the insights that will come from everything I'll talk about that will be relatable for your side business or even if it is your main business. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's side business or it's your main business, then you are a business owner in that case. So as Kennon has mentioned, yes, we are under the umbrella of the Sandbox, and I'm a sales expert within the Sandbox community. We're a community of sales experts, yeah, working together. And part of my job, I work very closely, and I have worked also in the past with businesses. Well, of course, as any salesperson, I started that in employment, just something I found myself in. But as the years progressed, I found myself now advising business owners, advising businesses, and even sales leaders, yeah, on creating and optimizing a proper sales engine that can provide more sales and increase revenue. Yeah. So this session, I do not want to be like a Mwalimu in the 844 system. Yeah. So I am going to be asking some questions. Yeah. And then let's maybe throw in some answers in the chat box. And from there on, then maybe we can discuss a bit detailed on how we answer, or I want to look at what is our thought process, what's our mindset when it comes to sales. Yeah. Okay. Kidole, maybe the kidole emoji. All right. I hope we are. Thank you. Thank you, Kennon and Edward. All right. So my first question. So let's provide very, very short answers. Majibu fupi fupi. Yeah. When you think about sales, yeah, you as a business owner, as I've said, we are going to refer you all as a business owner because you are either having a side hustle or it's your main business. At the end of the day, you're a business owner. When you think about sales, yeah, how do you view it? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about sales? Think about this, either it's in your own business context or even outside of your business context. What does that represent for you? I am going to open the chat box and see the responses that are coming through. So we can just type in short phrases or one word. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Ruth. Guys, please let's go to the chat section and answer that question. When you hear sales, what comes to mind? What actually comes to mind when you hear sales? Now, you can shoot from any direction. The idea in today's webinar is to bring out your thoughts. We always say, personalize this experience. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. We are looking out for the answers in the chat section because it's a very important part of this webinar. What is sales to you? Great. Over to you, Louisa. Sorry, over to you, Ruth. Sorry.
Even if you think that it's negative, it is fine. Negative or positive connotation to it, maybe let's just type. So I can see convince. I can see confidence. Anyone else? Ideas? Money. I like that. Yeah, sales is always about money, and it's the one thing that drives a lot of sales professionals and a lot of business owners. Okay, solutions. Thank you guys for, even if the answers are still coming through, it is fine. As I always say, yeah, in a different session, I once asked people, what's the first thing that comes to mind when they hear sales? Yeah. There were both positives and some had negative connotations. Yeah. Some would just be, oh, convince. Convince is a general term. Let's say, for example, it's quite vague. It's trying to convince someone why they should do something that they do not really want to do. Yeah. So yes, it has been sales has been associated with the word I have to convince someone to do 1, 2, 3. I must convince someone to purchase, yeah, buy what I'm selling, yeah. A lot of the times, sales just means money. If I'm making a sales, it's profit, it's revenue for a business, and all that. So I want us to go through the mindset, yeah. So thinking about the sales mindset is the one step, and it is the most important step from my experience into successfully selling anything to anyone. Okay. So what is a sales mindset? So for example here, how many people think they're a salesperson? I know you are business owners, yeah, maybe by show of hands in the emoji section. How many people think or believe they're a salesperson? Okay. Paul believes he's a salesperson. Janet Maulida. All right. I always like to tell people, because I have been in the sales profession my entire adult life. Yeah. I always like to tell anyone who would listen to me say this, that everyone is a salesperson internally. Yeah. You're always a salesperson. For example, how many times have you spent effort trying to convince or let someone understand that they should do something that maybe they may go into an opposite direction? So that's the one thing. You're all salespeople. If you think about it from your childhood, yeah, if you wanted to go somewhere and your mother would not let you, yeah, you'll put in a proper proposition. I will do this by this time. I'll be done with the dishes. I will ensure everything is locked up and everything, so that you can just get that yes. It means you communicated value, and the person that is listening to you understood the value. So they give you something in exchange. We are all salespeople. We spend a lot of time convincing our loved ones. Yeah. Let's say for the married ones or those in relationships. Yeah. There's a reason why your partner is still with you, for example. If anything goes a bit helter-skelter, there's a way in which you still have to consider the value, that it is valuable to continue being with me as a partner. So every person is a salesperson innately, and we do it without knowing. Yeah. So if in any case there's a mindset where you think that, no, I'm not a salesperson, I cannot do this. And especially now in the forum where you are a business owner, yeah, you start to fail the moment in your mindset you start thinking, I cannot do sales, I'm not a salesperson. So that is the number one mindset that you should always lead with, especially as a business owner. Yeah. I am a salesperson, and who else is going to articulate your product if it is not you? If you find yourself employing someone else, it is you who is going to teach them how to sell that product. Yeah. Sorry. You are going to teach your people how to sell the product. Yeah. Nobody else will understand your product if you yourself cannot even sell it. So then again, think about the sales mindset. And it is very important for every business owner. You are a salesperson before you're anything else. Before you're an accountant, you're a salesperson, because if there's no sales, what are you going to account for? Yeah. that is, I know a lot of business owners, we wear too many hats. You are the HR, you are the salesperson, the marketing person, social media, you're running around everyone's social media, and you're posting and you're curating content that can give your audience a bit more insight about what your product is. But before all that else, you are a salesperson as much as you are the proprietor of your product or your service. Okay? So that's the number one, mindset. As Edward mentioned earlier, on 8th, we're going to be having a breakfast where we'll dive deep into that. I really do hope everyone on the call gets to attend that session. But we're going to be talking to a lot of business owners, a lot of people that have side hustles on how to develop that sales mindset. The second part I would like us to look at is knowing your product. Yeah. Who do you think, or how do I put it? How would you categorize your product or your service if you are selling something as a side hustle or it's your business? Is it high volume or is it high value? Let's take 2 minutes tops. Just type in there, do you consider your business a high volume or a high value? Which one makes sense? Then I will go into maybe defining the difference between high volume and high value. Okay. A couple of high values. I think every business owner should know this, yeah? All right, all right. Two more. Two more responses, then we can move. Are you high value business or are you a high volume business? How do you make money? Is it volumes or value? One more, then we can move on. Anyone? I will categorize my business. I am going to put it at high value. Oh, Sammy, you're high volume. All right, so let's look at the difference between high value and high volume difference, yeah? A high volume business is a business where you need to sell volumes for you to make money, yeah, to make a profit. For example, if I am selling peanut butter right now at 150 Kenya shillings, how many peanut butters do I need to sell to just hit 150,000 Kenya shillings? That means you need to sell more. What? So that is high volume. It means for you, numbers matter and you push volume. And a lot of FMCG products are high volume. Or beauty products are high volume for you, especially if you're looking at low to mid-range beauty products. That means it's high volume. If you're one wig, for example, for those that are selling hair, if one wig is going for 2,000, how many of those wigs do you need to sell to make 20,000 if that was your target? So it means how you market, yeah, how you approach your customers, and everything about your sales strategy is going to have to be coined around how you can achieve much volumes. If you go into the supermarket, there's going to be Cabras sugar over there. That's a high volume type of business. They need to sell very many kilograms for them to realize a particular target they had in mind. If you're selling shoes at 2,000 Kenya shillings, the same applies. If you look at high value on the other end, yeah, high value means your products or services are quite high in value in terms of the investment that your customer has to make to afford your product or service is quite high. If you have a product that has a minimum, the lowest range is 200,000, that means your business is high value and it's not high volume. And your sales strategy is going to be very different onto how you market, how you talk to your customers. Yeah. If I have a high volume business, I will post, yeah, and hope that I get as many questions and inquiries as possible. When it comes to high value type of business, it means it starts becoming a one-on-one type of sales engagement. The one person that makes an inquiry or the one person that shows interest, the stages of the sales process are going to be very different as opposed to how you do your high volume. High volume is 2,000, they bought, delivery has been done, or they purchased it from the shop and they moved on. So a lot of the times you find you don't need that much of an in-person relationship with your customer. But if you are a high value type of business, you're selling a tent or you are an events manager, you have an events business, and for you to just put tents and do decor at the venue is going to mean, oh, this person is going to pay you 200,000, 300,000. The sales process is very different, and that is going to determine how you look at your sales cycle. The sales cycle is the time it takes for you to start talking to your customer to the time when they write a check or sign a contract. By the time they pay you, is it going to take you 2 months? Is it going to take you 1 week? You find that short sales cycle, where from the time you engage with the customer to the point they buy, they're normally less than 2 weeks. If I am selling lip gloss right now, the decision making is me, myself, my customer. It will take them less than 3-4 days. After the 4th day, you know, maybe this is something that will be purchased later from the point of inquiry. But when it comes to high value type of business, that is very different. There's too much that is involved by the time you get to a point where you have to write quotations, you have to send a proposal. Yeah. So figuring out what type of business you are running is really going to help you strategize a bit better. Are you high volume? Are you high value? Those two cannot be sold in the same breath. Yeah. So for example, if I go with the events management business, I cannot go on Instagram and start expecting that everyone is pouring in to me and they're all purchasing. How many you cannot sell in a month? You cannot sell 10, 200,000 or 500,000 type of product or service within a month, of course, unless your team is quite large. You will need a large team, yeah, to be able to pull those numbers within a month, for example, which is very different from if you're selling, you have a high volume type of business. I hope that makes sense. So for everyone who said they are high value, are you still high value or are you high volume? Has anyone changed their mind or wants to categorize the business in a different way? Okay, I have 4 high value businesses and high volume. So we stick to that. We're still high value and we're still high volume for Sami. Oh, so Maulida, you are high volume. Okay. So I like that we can tell the difference, yeah, between our type of businesses. So moving forward, I'm looking at your messages. So you're all turning to be high volume. The way you sell a high value product or service is going to be very different from the way you sell a high volume type of product. So that is right. We all agree, I hope. Kidole, thumbs up. Great. Third, once you already figure out that I am a high volume or I am a high value type of business, yeah, you need to identify your ideal customer profile. And this is where the work is at. Because if you start selling to everyone, you will burn money, you will burn time, you will burn resources. If you have a team of 1 or 2, yeah, that are supporting you, you'll be burning everything, but it just means that your targeting is a bit off. Yeah. Because I already know my sales cycle, because I am high value, my sales cycle is a bit longer. But for me to be able to shorten it within a time frame that ensures that I get return on investment by the time the customer pays, yeah, is going to be very important. Your ICP, your ideal customer profile, which industry are they in? For example, if it's a business, are you selling to businesses? Because I know a lot of people that they have a side hustle, but they sell to businesses. They will see an RFP here, they'll apply, there's a tender, they'll apply, yeah, and they provide goods and services to other businesses as much as you're a business. So that is B2B, is your business model. If your product is expensive, because either of what it takes to build the product or the amount of time it gets to deliver the service, then it is also going to mean that whoever you're selling to, nobody's just going to give you 500,000 or 200,000 like that. Yeah. There's going to be quite a bit of hoops that you're jumping. So who are they? How do they look like? I'm running an events business. I'm a photographer, let's say, for example, and I'm chasing a wedding. Yeah, I want to shoot a wedding. That is going to mean you're going to talk to the bride, you're going to talk to the groom, you're going to look at the venue. Those are things that are going to be important to you. Do they need videography? And all these things is going to take, you have to write a quotation. You do not need to write a quotation for a lip gloss, but you will need to write a quotation if you're shooting a wedding, yeah, for example. So you cannot sell it under 2 days, yeah. Who is your exact customer? How do they look like? How do they behave? Where do you find them? Those are very important questions to ask yourself. And even if you say, I'm going to be doing marketing through social, not to mistake, I personally have also been a business owner before. I have done a side hustle. I still do. And yes, I failed. Some of the things I'm saying here, I was young and I failed to also ask myself these questions. Yeah. I fail and I come back and I do something else. Yeah. It's always about learning. But back then, I did not have a proper marketing strategy. Do you know how to advertise to your ideal customer profile? Yeah. Are you selling a luxury product? Yeah. How is it purchased? When do they purchase? Yeah. How do they make those decisions? It's very important. That means you understand your customer, you know where to find them, you know how they purchase the products, yeah, and where and how to be seen by them. So if you're going to social media, when it comes to maybe you want to sponsor an ad, it has got to be very targeted. You cannot just go there and start saying, okay, I am a photographer, let me advertise to everyone. Where are even your people? If you're a photographer in Nairobi, you cannot sell to the same at the same price to someone living in Nakuru, for example. So looking at spending power, yeah, who can afford me? The people that can afford me at the price that I want to sell my services, where can I find them? It is very important. Okay, so I hope that kind of rings a bell and aligns why you should always profile your customer and understand the drivers behind their purchasing decision. Nobody just purchases like that, even if it is a high volume type of business. There is always a purchasing decision, and there are always behaviors on how people make purchases. Even if it is sugar, I have behaviors on how I purchase sugar. Yeah, so it is up to Cabra's Sugar to know what are those behaviors and make sure that they are well aligned so that I will notice them and I will see the value. Okay. Fourth point, yeah. Please stop me, please raise your hand, please send something in the chat box if you're curious about anything, yeah, that I'm saying or something has been missed somewhere. Okay, cool. Pain points. Nobody goes to purchase anything unless there is a pain point. I swear. Yeah. Even if it is a lip gloss. What is my pain point? It is beauty. I felt like something was missing and how my face looks like, and I have to get something. So what are those pain points? Yeah. That are going to drive my purchasing decision. Yeah. And there's something I read somewhere online. I've lost it. I tried to find it before the session. That if you continue leading with value, in terms of my product, it is good because it will help you do. I will save you time. I will save you money. I will save you 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yes, it is good. It always sells. However, nothing sells more than desperation or pain. Yeah. We all can bring this home. Look at our healthcare. Yeah. Healthcare nowadays has been categorized as capitalism in healthcare, and people will pay an arm and a leg for healthcare. Yeah. So what are the pain points? So how you position your service or your product, yeah, it is always good to look at the value. What will the customer gain if they start using your service or your product? But the one thing that sells most is what are they missing? If you're selling a service that is going to help them cut on costs, you're going to lead by how painful is it going to be if they do not start working with you, for example. Yeah, it will be painful if you do not start working with me. Why? Is it your bottom line? Is it eating a lot of your money? Yeah. Is it time? Are you spending an arm and a leg? For example, I look at Mtumba business nowadays. It has gone online because going to Gikomba is so painful for the middle class. So they'd rather come to a shop where someone has put hangers, and that is how Think Twice. Think Twice has thrived like that for the past few years. Nobody wants to go to Gikomba or toy market. They want to go into a shop. There's no sun. I'll find them already either in a mannequin or they're hooked somewhere on in a hanger. Let me select. I'll select by color. I will go. Think about the pain points. If you go to Gikomba, you'll have to test your trouser somewhere behind a curtain in the middle of the market, or your shirt right there in the open air market. If I go to Think Twice, there's a changing room. I mean, I don't know, how else can I bring it closer? So how painful is it that if your customer does not purchase your product or your service, yeah, that sells faster than or you stand to. So how you stand to gain something. So how you position yourself is going to kind of make it reach home. And we are humans. Yeah, the more painful, the more we'll purchase. So figure out what are those pain points and how do you align that to your communication, your sales communication. And sales communication, don't get me wrong, that also social media. Yeah. Do you have social media? Do you have a brochure? Are you creating proposals? It needs to communicate how painful that is going to be and touch on, make sure your customer can see themselves without your product or your service. And now they're like, no, I just must get this. Question? I hope it's hitting home. All right, great. I was also looking at some of the answers that came into from the poll. Yeah, Edward had put on a poll earlier in the WhatsApp group, and one of those was closing. Yeah, closing was a bit of either a challenge or a lot of business owners are afraid of asking for the money. And I always see this happen a lot, especially in social media, yeah, where someone is selling a high volume type of product. And if I go to query, they tell me come to the DM. I don't know how many people like come to the DM so that, yeah. Yeah, come to the DM so I tell you how much. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Solomon, for your comments. Yeah. So, and you always keep asking yourself, why come to the DM? I just want to know how much the shoe is. Yeah. So, as I kept observing and I kind of start thinking, this person is asking me to come to the DM for various reasons. Either they are not confident in the cost that they have for that product or service. Second, they are not sure they have communicated the value, yeah, of their product or their service clearly, yeah. Because in my world, if you do not communicate value, you always end up stuck at the price discussion, yeah. Oh, but Apana, I know somewhere else where they sell. My partner, Louisa, I think she's here. There was a time we went to Home and Beyond. Yeah. So we're working with Home and Beyond. And the one clear question that kept coming up or challenge they're having is that Home and Beyond is very expensive. But the salespeople, they are not aware on why is Home and Beyond expensive. Why? Because they did not know how to communicate the value of Home and Beyond products. If I go to Home and Beyond right now to buy a bed sheet, it may cost somewhere between 10,000 to 12,000. And somewhere in Toy, someone is selling a bed sheet, yeah, that is positioned as if it's a Home and Beyond product for 800 shillings, yeah. But looking at it, there are people who understand the value and it's been communicated. And it's small, simple things about the thread count. Yeah, and that's the first time I was learning about thread count even myself. And I'm starting to look at the different value. This is going to matter because it's a thread count. I know my ideal customer profile, the ICP of Home and Beyond, they know why a thread count in a bedsheet matters. When it is too cold, I'm not cold. Have you ever gone to bed in July and you enter your bed sheets and you're freezing? You've worn socks and everything. Yeah, your bed sheet is cold. When it's too hot, you are sweating. You're in bed. Yeah, thread count. Then again, it's not that, oh, you've covered yourself so much in the duvet, but are your beddings really allowing for flow of air under covers? Yeah. And there are people that then I come to learn that people that are well-traveled or they're used to luxury, yeah, and they would come to Home and Beyond and they understand why thread count matters for their type of customer, yeah. So even for you, yeah, are you in front of your ideal customer profile? Yeah, your ideal customer will understand the cost of what you're selling because they understand the value. I cannot go and land in the middle of Kawangware or speak to someone who is used to thrift and talk about a Home and Beyond product. They will not see it. They'll start comparing it with at Toy, it costs this. Or King's Collection bed sheets are this cheaper. Why? They don't understand the value, so they keep you at a rat race of its price. And if you look at the people you're being compared with, in terms of the value of your product, yeah, they cannot compare. So getting out of that is really important. So by the time you're having the close conversation, how do you get your customer to close? Does your customer understand value? First things first. Do they understand the value of your service? Do they understand the value of your product? A customer that understands value will not compare you to a different brand that is not competing with you directly. If you have communicated value, you will not be afraid of asking for the money. Sometimes you may be selling a high volume type of product or service. Yeah. However, if someone comes to the comments and say how much, you're not afraid to say, these nails, if I get you these nails, is 2,500. Yeah. Because you have showcased the value in your advertisement, you've showcased the value in the way you portray your brand publicly. Yeah. Do you have influencers that can speak to it? Yeah. Can you be trusted? You'll just say outright, for this service, it's going to cost this and that. But if you start feeling like you have to go to the DM for prices, you already lost the client. And we all know that there are a lot of clients that die in the DM for prices. Okay. So are you confident enough to ask for the money? Then that is the close. What do you know about your customer for you to ask for the money? If you're working with another business, so your model is B2B, do you know everything about that business? Yeah. In terms of decision making, in terms of the need and the benefits they will gain from your service or product, for you to not be afraid to ask for the money. Because if you start thinking that your business or your product or service is very expensive, yeah, then the customer also will be like, they can always see desperation. And that's the time they start pressing you down lower. You came in at 200,000, now you're at 80,000, you're still negotiating. Then there is no way you're going to make that sale. For me, my most favorite negotiation tactic is I always ask something for something. When I was still doing sales in employment, if the customer asked for a discount, and I am doing a B2B, I am a business selling to a business, and they say, I don't think I want a discount so that I can get approval from whoever, finance, the head of department or whatever. There's nothing for free. It's something for something. So here is the catch. If I give you a 10% discount, for example, you need to get back the contract to me by the end of tomorrow. So that discount expires at the end of tomorrow. If you're not able to, then let's go through the process, because the sales cycle is also expensive. The more your customer is engaging you in this negotiation tactics and these hoops that you're jumping on, it is also expensive. You're spending airtime, you're spending internet, you're spending fare, yeah, trying to if you, let's go back again to the wedding, you're always on the ground before they can even make a decision. Yeah. So yes, Kennon, I am on my last point. Yeah. So understand the decision making of your customer. Do they understand the value? If you're speaking to the right customer, you will not get stuck in the rat race of price, and you will ask for the money confidently if you know how your customer is purchasing and the things that drive their purchasing decisions. All right. We are going to be talking about a lot of these things on 8th November. So I really invite you guys in here to attend the breakfast on 8th November so that we can unpack quite a bit of this. I will be there, so if you want to pull me aside, so that we can talk a bit more about it, please do. If you want a bit of a diagnosis, you have a pressing sales challenge and you think I have an answer somewhere, please do reach out. But up to there, I think that's it. Welcome to my TED Talk. Thank you for coming. Paul or Kennon, back to you.
Wow. What a TED Talk there, Ruth. Very, very
You're
interesting.
welcome. Yeah.
Definitely very many points I've taken there. I sit next to you when we're at the sandbox, but there's some nuggets that I'm picking anew. Understand your sales cycle. Are you a high value? Are you a high volume person? Understand your ideal customer. So that when you're talking to the people, they ring, it rings a bell. I like that pain points drive sales. Initially I thought it's a nice advertisement or nice colors or nice song. Yes, those are there. But today I walk away knowing that what drives sales is a pain point. And the more painful it is, the easier it is for you to close the sale because you're providing a solution. I like how you ended there, a very thorny issue there. Pricing. DM me for price. Now I see it in a different light. Actually, when you say that, I thought if somebody ever asks me for the price publicly, it means it's my turn to show value on the spot. To get the confidence in the prices, you're talking to the right person, you've built value, you can be trusted, you have references. Oh my, Ruth, thank you so much for dropping those nuggets today. We can't wait for 8th of November to do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the webinar today. You'll notice we take an hour purely because we want to make it short and sweet. I know people probably have other things they want to do, but do not miss out the opportunity to join us on the 8th of webinar of November. Edward is going to put the link on the chat right now. If it's something that interests you, please click on that link and make a payment. Talking about price, we are charging 1,500 for this side hustle breakfast. What does that give you? First, it gives you access to 3 experts. Myself in wealth management. There is Michelle Wanja of Answer Africa. She'll be taking us through how do you build your business. And now Ruth and Louisa will be there telling us more about sales. So you get 3 experts telling you real nuggets on how to move your world of money ahead. Not only that, we've prepared a snack for you. So that amount also covers your snack, and the room that you're going to use. We'll be meeting at the Sandbox at CMS Africa House. That is on Chania Avenue. Right now, that road is being repaired, but I think by that time, it will be good. You have enough parking. We will meet at 9 in the morning. We spend the whole morning thinking about how do you build your business in a day. Now, that if you choose to make your payment on the day, then it jumps up to 2,000 shillings purely to cover our unexpected inconveniences or logistics that we need to move around quickly for you who chooses to come in and pay at the door. That 1,500 shillings is worth you spend. Say that without batting an eyelid. I'm very confident about the price you're setting from what I've learned from Louisa today. So Edward, please put that link on the chat. Yes, I've seen it there. Please go ahead and click on that. Put your money in there. It will be money very well spent. I would wish to stop here and wish you guys a very good night. This is probably the last webinar series before 8th of November, but look out for more information about it. If you feel there's a friend who can attend it, tag them along. Just send them the same link. Let's make this work so that we have a wonderful way of saying, can my side hustle work and work well? Staki kubahatisha. I don't want to guess. I don't want to end up paying a lot more in terms of time and energy. I wish I knew. That's what we are talking about with this. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we wish to stop there. And thank you so much, Ruth, for pouring again into the closing call. Please pass our regards to Louisa, who is your fellow expert at the closing call. It is bye from us. Have yourselves a good night. I think that's it from me. Back to you, Ed, to help us close the curtains. Asanteni sana.
Yes, thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you, the closing call. And thank you, everyone. We've learned, and now let's build our side hustles. Let's keep the energy going. I'll be sharing the link to this video tomorrow. Asanteni sana. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.